I had no idea that in 2011 we will have a revolution. And so on that day, on the 25th of January 2011, I was marking exams of the students, and I was suffering reading through their answers, actually. And then I said, okay, now it's time to go and have a look at the revolution. It was not a revolution yet, it was a day of anger. And nobody believed it was going to happen, really. So I said, okay, I'll go to Shobra, because they said it's everywhere in Egypt. And I said, okay, I will not go downtown, because I know usually 50 people that will gather, then beaten up by 5,000 soldiers, and will end up with nothing. So I said, okay, I'll go to Shobra and see how it goes. I call a friend who lives in Shobra, who is Christian, and I asked him about how to get to Shobra. And he said, I advise you not to go. That was the attitude of my male friend. And I said, no, I am going. And I take the bus, and I ask the driver where is the stop of thawra in Shobra. I'm going to read a quote from the book. Revolution is my name. It's translated by Professor Samia Mehrez. Another young woman behind me asked for the same stop. She got the same answer. I turned around and found a young veiled woman behind me. She may have been a student or a recent graduate. Are you going to the demonstration? Yes. How did you find out about the demonstration? There was an event posted on Facebook. Event? This is not a Muhammad Munir concert, you know, it is a demonstration. I know. We smiled at each other, and then I asked her, are you a member of a political party? No, she replied. We got off the bus together and walked for a short while until we reached Shobra Street, the main artery. A huge billboard in celebration of Police Day had been set up. We took a look around us. Nothing looked like there would be a demonstration. A few police officers were standing at street corners. They kept looking at their watches. It was 1:45 p.m. Nearby, a woman in her late 40s stood alone on the pavement. She walked towards one of the officers and began talking to him. I overheard a few words like demonstrations, justice, dignity, and the high cost of living. Quote, it looks like this woman is here for the demonstration. Let's go and stand with her instead of standing alone. Are you here for the demonstration? I have come all the way from Heliopolis behind my husband's back to participate in this demonstration. I parked my car in a nearby street and walked here. I was a bit surprised, so I asked her, but why do you want to demonstrate? Because the situation in the country has become unbearable. The police officers overheard our conversation. They started laughing. Revolution in Arabic is thawra, which is feminine. And so for me it was like no surprise that women were in the beginning, were in front rows. They were from day one, from first hour. They participated and they were not afraid. Like this girl on the bus, myself, okay, I was going to watch, not really participate, but there was this girl going determined that she's participating in that, and that woman who left her house and behind her husband to join the demonstrations. When we started to see the people getting together and groups were formed, the girl and the middle-aged woman, they thrust themselves into the crowd, whereas I stood aside to watch and take photographs. I did not still believe that it's going to really be something until midday, that we start to see thousands of people marching in Shobra, and then I went to Tahrir, and then we were all together, people, women, children, families, men, different classes. It was really a big surprise. That was the attitude, my attitude, the girl, the middle-aged woman and other people. But then there was the other side of families at home. So my mom, and I thought that it is because she's my mom and I'm a girl, she's overworried, but it turned out that that was not really the case. So I'm going to read another quote. The phone started to ring. It was my mother. Where are you? She asked briskly. I am in Tahrir, I answered offhandedly. What are you doing in Tahrir? Didn't you say you were going to Shobra? My mother's voice got louder, so I moved the phone away from my ear. It's getting big, Mom. The demonstrations are for real. What does that mean? It means that we're going to sit in. Come home, enough is enough. By then she was screaming, so I moved the phone further away from my ear. Mother, please don't shout like this, you're going to pierce my eardrum. I can't come home. We're in the thousands and we're all staying. Your father is right here beside me, and he says that you must come home. Enough is enough. We don't want problems. Some of the young protesters turned towards me and smiled. I felt embarrassed. Mother, I'm going to spend the night in the Midan and I will come home tomorrow. Don't worry. She hung up on me. I gazed at my phone and felt rather upset. One of the demonstrators who had accidentally overheard the conversation said to me, "It's okay, my mother did that too." I shrugged my shoulders and smiled. So I thought that like mothers do this with girls. Well, it was happening with boys as well. You know, like many of my male friends said that they had to tell stories to their families to be in Tahrir. Like we're going on a picnic, we're going to spend the weekend somewhere, we're going to Sokhna, we're going, and then they meet the parents in the square. Now the parents did not want to tell their children, sons and daughters, that they were going to take part. They wanted, but they were afraid for their children. And the kids were afraid to tell the parents, but eventually they meet in the square. It was like big surprise, you know. So that was the first day, and when we were all bombarded with the tear gas, of course, we most of us scattered, but then people got together again in Riyadh, and until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, the protesters did not leave the place. And then I knew that this will continue, this will go on. Now, the presence of women, I am used to see some women from Hizb al-Arabi al-Nasiri, Tajammu', yes, Kifaya, of course. Few women, like in late 40s, 50s, and they get together at Talat Harb Square or Journalist Syndicate, do their job and leave. You know, I did not see persistence at that time. I've been through smaller demonstrations, but nothing like that. Now, for me, it was the first time to see women from different classes and like families. So again, I'm going to read January 26, midday protest. I quote, "I joined the demonstrators, but my voice was in no shape for chanting. I made my way among the multitudes and was surprised to see 5 young women who looked alike lead the chanting in the front row. They may have been sisters or relatives. The riot police vehicles were double parked throughout the street. Endlessly, the demonstrators had occupied the intersection between Ramses and 26th of July streets. The chanting grew louder. Revolution, revolution, till victory, revolution in all streets of the country, revolution in Tunisia, revolution in Egypt. The riot police began to surround us as we were chanting. The chants changed and grew louder as the riot police closed in. The people demanded the removal of the regime. Leave, go. I looked into the eyes of the conscripts. Some turned their gaze away, refusing to look us in the eye. Others felt uneasy, while others still were moving their legs and chanting along silently. These are the soldiers. The people demanded the removal of the regime. Officers were on their walkie-talkies. It looked like we were going to get beaten up. I stepped out of the crowd and stood to the side. I did not want to be trampled by the demonstrators. Suddenly, the riot police attacked us with their sticks. I intuitively jumped over the green steel barrier. I looked behind me. The 5 girls had fallen on the ground. Young men and boys were quickly helping them to their feet and running. The police ran after them. I saw some of the soldiers waving their sticks in mid-air as if threatening to bash people's heads. The demonstrators dispersed. Some ran towards Moulay Abu Hara. I stood on the pavement behind the barrier, angrily eyeing the officers. Get out of here. How very manly, pushing girls to the ground. So for me, the thing here is that I saw girls who could be working in the nearby shops in the area of downtown. That was very new to me, to see these 5 girls veiled with long dresses, long skirts, facing the soldiers, shouting, screaming. It's probably the first time to take part in protests like that, and they were not afraid. I thought something new is happening in our society. Breaking fear, breaking roles. Like usually it is the men who stand in the front row and face the police, whereas now here I see something different. Young girls from lower classes, lower middle classes, and they were there next to us, and actually they were leading. Unlike these 5 girls, there was a situation in the evening of the same day where I saw we were taking part in another protest downtown, and then the police started to round us, and then I saw them capturing one young man and beating him up and pushing him to the street. I tried to protest against that, and there was a woman, another woman. I yelled at the status of the police, enough, have mercy, you are inhuman. What are you? A woman in a black cloak emerged. Don't yell at the man like that. No manners. Men? What men? Can't you see what they are doing? You still shouldn't behave like this. You're driving me nuts. They are going to kill the boy. You should be blaming them instead of blaming me. This is between men. Women should stay out of it. I yelled at them as loud as I could. Your animals, get her. And they got me. Got me means I was taken, beaten up. I mean, it's a long scene which I'm not going to read. But anyway, there was this, for me it was surprising. Now during the day I saw these 5 girls, very courageous girls, standing up for the rights, and here's this woman, she sees a boy beaten up like he's going to die, and she does not open her mouth. And when someone like me interferes, she blames me instead of taking my side. I think there was a lot of change in the mentality of the people who was happening at the time, between men and women, between men and men, women and women, across classes as well. Then the utopia kind of ended. And then, now the period after Mubarak was out, we had the scarf, and somehow immediately after we had this, we had become into the period of the scarf regime. Then there was a virginity test, which was a shock, because we thought we were breaking a lot of taboos and bridging gaps and becoming not necessarily liberal in the way I see it, but people were accepting each other. And then we have this virginity test. And here I have to salute Samia Ibrahim, the girl who was subjected to it and stood for her rights and filed a case. And I have to thank her father as well, because they are from Upper Egypt, and usually honor thing is a big thing. So that he encouraged his daughter, and she continued her fight, and she did not shut up. Usually people shut up about things like that. But she was courageous enough, and I think this is one of the advantages of revolution as well. And being a woman in this time. Most of you remember the girl who was called the Rubra girl, and all that talk at the time about her. Actually, I would like to dedicate this lecture to her, because I don't know her. She's quite an anonymous person, and nobody knows her, but I think she's my sister, nevertheless. And someone made this image, and I found that that was really beautiful image for me, to have the bra as the center of the flag instead of the eagle, which is a masculine icon. Now we have the bra. As shocking as it was on Facebook, some people rejected the image, yet I find it quite beautiful and expressive. Egypt, after all, is feminine, so why should we have the eagle in the middle of the flag?